Hey guys, it's so good to see you back here on my Crafter's Companion YouTube channel. I hope you are well and I hope you're ready to go for another tutorial. Now this one is, it's giving you a head start as to something I've got coming up round about a week. Now I say round about a week, that round about a week completely depends on when you're actually watching this video. So when it comes to Saturday the 3rd of February on Crafters TV, I've got two masterclasses. So I'm on for the 3 shows that day and I've got 2 masterclasses. I've got one which is all about the Cheers to You collection, and then I've got one which is all about the layout collection. Now the layout collection was originally meant to be a 2-hour craft along. However, I went begging and pleading to Emma, who oversees the actual schedule at the end of the day when it comes to Crafters TV, and I did say, I was like, look, I really don't think it's going to be beneficial doing a craft along when it comes to the layout collection. The reason being is Lily already had a 1-hour craft along when it comes to the layout collection, and I just felt when it comes to the layout collection with myself, it was more beneficial to have 2 hours of a masterclass where I can show you lots of different ways to actually use the layout collection. Now, the other thing with that one as well is if it was a craft along, then it's 2 hours, one project, and that's it. And again, I just thought it was more beneficial to actually have a 2-hour masterclass where I can show you lots of different ways using the collection, using Sarasig, using Nature Garden, using your stamps, using Hunky Dory, and using the foil press. Now, the demo I'm actually going to do within this tutorial here, I am going to be doing on Crafters TV on Saturday, February the 3rd. But I thought it's too good to wait until the 3rd. So therefore, you're going to get 2 hits here. Now, the good thing with here on my YouTube channel is I do everything in real time. Now, I'll be doing all the bulk of it on Crafters TV within that masterclass with the demo on my way to do here. However, there'll be little steps that I've already cut out where I don't do it. As I always say, what I actually film is what you see. I don't edit, I don't cut, I don't do anything like that. You get it in real time, start to end. So therefore, I thought Foilpress layout collection really is going to be beneficial to do this tutorial ahead of time as well. So you will see it on Crafters TV on Saturday the 3rd of Feb. However, this is that full extended length when it comes to the demo I'm away to do. Now, before we go on to the demo and we dive straight in, of course, thank you to everyone that has subscribed to my Crafters Companion YouTube channel. Thank you to those of you that give me the thumbs up after you've watched the tutorials. If you do enjoy them, it is very, very much appreciated. And then thank you to those that have also hit that bell notification, which just means whenever I pop up a tutorial, you'll get an alert just say that Craig's got a tutorial ready to be viewed. So for all of you that have done all of that, I really appreciate it. But the main thing is, those of you that have subscribed, even if you've not done the other 2, that's absolutely fine. That depends on what you want from your YouTube, of course, your YouTube account, but at least subscribing, it means the world to me. So thank you so, so much. Because as I always say as well, all of these that I do here, I do in my own time. It's because I love doing them, but they are done in all my own time. So thank you so, so much. Right, shall we delve in and let's have a look at what we're going to be using when it comes to our foil press. Well, these are the 2 elements from our foil press. So we're going to go in and we're going to be using the honeycomb background, and then we're also going to be using the stag's head. With these ones, what we're going to do with the layout collection is we're going to use sketch number 12, which is thank you. We're going to keep it as a thank you, but it is sketch number 12, and that's what we're going to be following. Now, what I'm not necessarily going to do is follow the steps that are on the back. So if I turn that over, the layout, the sketch is going to be exactly the same, but I am not necessarily going to be doing them as it says here, measurement wise. So the end result will look like that sketch there, but I'm going to be changing the measurements. And that's a great thing about the layout collection. You can either follow along step by step, or if you want to follow the sketch, which this is what the layout collection is all about, that sketch there. If you want to follow that, you can then use that and recreate that within any collection you want. So what we need to start with, first of all, is we're going to start with the background. Now, this is going to go onto a 5x7 card blank. Now what I don't want my 5x7 to open in that traditional way. I want it to open as a 10th fold. So what I've got here is I've got a 7x7 card blank. You know, my card blanks that I use are all sticks 2s. So going in 7x7, and then we're going to cut 5" by 7. So that gives me my 5x7, but what it gives me is a top fold. So that is me good to go when it comes to the start of my card blank. What we can do in actual fact, let's do this now. Let's do the insert to start with. So the colours that I'm going to be using my gold foil from the Foilpress, papercraft foil, and then I'm going to be using some gold. I'm going to be using some white multi-purpose and some black. So let's do the insert to start with. When it comes to inserts, if you've watched me before on my tutorials, I always say the best way, if you're doing a matte and layer insert, the best way is for the matte and layer, the matte, to be the darkest shade out of all of the colours you're using. So when it comes to the card that I'm doing, the darkest shade is going to be black. So that's going to be my black matte and layer. So for the insert, I'm doing it not quite 5x7. We're doing it 4x3 3 3/4 by 6x3 3/4, and then our white layer can be 4.5 by 6.5. So that can be my insert started. Now you might want to do a loose leaf insert. Of course you can do. You might want to do a printed insert in matte and layer. As I always say as well, at the time of doing these, I don't always have someone in mind as to who I'm going to give it to. So although I'm going to keep it as a thank you card, I don't know exactly who I'm giving it to and why I'm thanking them. So therefore the actual insert I'm going to keep blank, and then what I can always do at a later date when I come to use it, that is then come along and then I can then put my chosen insert into the middle. Whether I print it and then matte and layer that onto the centre, or I might just come along and direct stamp. But at least you've got options. The base of the insert is already done. All you need to do is just add your actual written word and then also your handwritten sentiment. So let's matte and layer that into the middle there of our black, and then I'm going to go along and I'm going to then take these ones off. And other than something like a wedding card, I personally would never do the matte and layer as a gold or a metallic colour. I would always go with like a matte layer, or uncoated layer should I say. So there we go, that's our insert now. Our insert is good to go, and then we can then crack on with our tutorial. So we need to then come along with our foil press. I've got mine at the side that I'm just going to bring in, but let's come in with our background here. So the background that we're going to do here is where you can see this pattern paper. So let's take my white multi-purpose. I'm going to move my card blank out the way, and then I'm going to trim this. Now, it's going to be smaller than 5x7, but let's just foil that 4x7 and then we can trim it afterwards. So we're going to go in and we're going to take our big bit of metal background, and then we're going to use our gold papercraft foil as well. So we're going to take our foil and then we're going to roughly line that so we get it round about the size that we want. I'm going to move that out the way, and then I'm going to bring in my foil press here. So I'm switched on, I'm on green, which means I'm good to go. So for this background, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 50 seconds. So we're going to go all the way up to 50. So hold that second button up to 50. And then we're going to pop our background on. And then what we're going to do is once that's on, if you've watched me in the past with the shows, I like to put my carbon plate on top, and I'm going to press start. Now, I know Sarah doesn't always put the top plate on, Leanne doesn't always put the top carbon plate on. I like to do that. My thinking is, of course, as it heats up, without it, the heat is then going to evaporate. So the carbon plate keeps that heat in. It can though, however, sometimes, depending on what you're foiling, that can cause overfoil, which just means you've got foil where you don't want it. If that happens, then I would heat it without the carbon plate, because of course the heat is then bouncing off the carbon plate and coming back, and it's giving it that excess heat which is then going to cause overfoil. So if that happens, just heat it without the carbon plate. But 9 times out of 10, you see me and I use my carbon plate over the top. So as that then starts to count down, what we can then do is we're going to take that off. We're going to take our papercraft foil and shiny side down. And then we're going to come along with our cardstock over the top like so. I'm then going to put my carbon plate over the top. Now the only thing I've not got for this one is a camera to my G2, which I should have thought ahead of that one, never thought there. But all that I'm doing is G2, it's an optical sensor, I don't need that extender plate, we're just feeding that straight in, and then that's taking it no problem. So we can then go back in, and then we're going to lift. We've then got that impression, but then if we take that off, look at that. Never, ever, ever, ever get fed up of seeing that. So before we go on to the Stag, let's do the waste technique. So I'm going to put that back in. I'm going to take that off. It's not boiling hot, but remember with your foil press, you've got all of your heat applicators and that, just to make sure you don't burn yourself if you are a little bit heat sensitive. So let's take another piece. I'm just going to do the waste onto white multi-purpose, and I'm going to trim it again to 5 inch. Now for the waste technique, if I bring this back in, so we're going to need what we're going to foil onto, plus our foil, and we need our carbon plate. Now we need 2 shims of round about 300 GSM. So I'm just going to take these. It doesn't have to be your expensive good cardstock, as long as it's round about 300 GSM each. You can see I've already been using that one as a shim. 2 shims, and also a magnetic sheet from your Junior. That's the one that, or that's what I need to then build up my layers to do the waste technique. So for the waste technique, we're just going to go reset, and then I'm going to go 1 minute, 10 seconds. Then what we're going to do, once again, we're going to go shiny side down. So shiny side facing down. Then we're going to take our cardstock that we're going to foil onto. We're then going to take our 2 shims, so our 2 300 GSM shims to bulk it out over the top, our magnetic shim, and then we're going to go in with our carbon plate. We're then going to press start. This is the only technique where you layer everything together and then press start. You'll know from when I done that background there, I put the foil press plate onto my plate, foil press stamp onto my foil press plate, carbon, then I press start. So I done all the heating up before I put all my layers together. The waste technique, it's the opposite. You layer it all together, then you hit start, and then that's just then going to, of course, build up that heat all the way through. All those extra shims that we've done is what's going to create that extra pressure with the G2, or any Gemini that you're using. Well, I say any, it has to be an electric Gemini. Foil press doesn't work within your MIDI because the mouth's too thin. But then by the actual heat and then the pressure of all your layers, going to compact that foil onto your cardstock, and then that's how you can use the waste. So as that one starts to count down, we can do that waste technique, and then what we can do is then we can then move on into the Stag. So as that one comes out, we're just going to then go back, sliding it out, and then feeding that one through. So you will hear, when it comes to your G2 or your OG, you will hear that difference in pressure as it goes through. It just starts to slow down ever so slightly before it takes off. That's just because you've got all that pressure. So let's take all of these layers. So we're going to take that off, and then we've now got what is our waste. But if I then come along and peel that off, I've got nothing left on the carrier, and it's all been impressed onto your cardstock. So you've got the negative and you've got the positive that you can see here. You've got the positive and the negative. So positive here, negative here. So that's how you can use your backgrounds. So let's put them out of the way and let's put that back in. What we can then do, sit that to the side for a second. We're going to bring in our stag. So our stag, we're also going to do onto white multi-purpose. So let's take our stag and let's take our foil. Now, to eliminate any over foiling, as I said before, foil where you don't want it, anything like this, you just want to make sure that your foil is roughly round about the same size as your foil press stamp. So we're just going to go in and just roughly, we're going to cut around. Doesn't need to be neat, just as long as you're getting some of that excess foil out the way. All these little bits you can just start to build up and create your background. I've shown you on past Crafters TV shows before. So we've got our card, our foil and our foil press stamp. So as this gets ready to go green, that's it just heating up. What we're going to do with the stag is we're going to go to 25 seconds. And we're going to go at 25 seconds because it's a solid stamp. It's not an outline stamp. It's a solid stamp that we've got here. So we just want to make sure that it's on the heat for long enough time. And then, of course, what we can then do is then start to foil it. So we're just going to wait on that coming. Wait, you see, if I move that out of the way just now, it's going to beep to say that it's ready. Let's just move it there and bring in the guillotine. So what we can do is then we can trim our background. So I'm going to trim my background here to, what I'm going to start to do to start with is I'm going to trim right to the edges. So I've got that full backdrop. So I'm going right to the edge of the honeycomb design. So there it is, edge to edge, full background already done. But I'm going to come along and I'm going to cut it to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And what I also want to do is I want to try and make it symmetrical at each side. So I'm going to trim here. So I've just got a little bit the edge here. So I'm just looking at the design at the edge there. And just going to try and roughly eyeball it. Just making sure it's the size I need, which it is. Yep. And then we're going to go, so that was 4 1/4. So we're now going to go 6 1/4. I'm just going to go trim there and there. So that's me pretty symmetrical with the top of the design is the same at the bottom. So then I just need to take a slither and then a slither, and then that makes it 4 1/4 inches by 6 1/4, and it's pretty much symmetrical all the way round. See, you don't have to have it symmetrical, but I like to do that. So we'll have a little play and decide what we're going to use. So let's do the same with the waist. So I'm just going to trim all the way round, and so that's 6 1/4, and I want to come 4 1/4. I'm just going to do a little bit there, a little bit there. I'm just going to keep little bits and little bits to try and get it symmetrical in each side. So again, edge to edge, so that's the waist. So that was the positive, and then that was the negative. I don't know why that's, let's switch that off, switch it on, plug it in again. So positive and negative, and that's us at both parts now. So we've got our background, which if I bring in this card, the background is what is the pattern paper that you can see just there. So let's set that out the way for now. And let's just use this one as our background. We're going to matte and layer. So set that out the way till it beeps. To be fair, I have been using it a lot today. I'm now going to, because that is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So I'm going to go just over 4 1/4 by just over 6 1/4 by about, it's only by about 1 millimetre or so. So we're going to have a very thin black matte layer. And then we're going to go in with the gold here. And for the gold, we're going to go for, I think we're going to go, let's do 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. That's for, yeah, so it gives us a bit of a thicker black matte layer. That's my foil press ready. So that's how that's going to look. Alternatively, we can use that one instead because it's cut the same size. Again, you've got that option. I do like that white. So we've got our background. So that's the start, and then of course it will go on to our 5 by 7 card blank, which, you know me, the way that I've done my measurements, that means that we've got that white frame all the way round, and that's why the white background with the honeycomb works really, really well. Move that to the side and bring back in our foil press. So let's pop all these bits out the way. So these bits, keep that. That can go into the bin. And then we're going to go in with our foil press. So in with our foil press, as I said before, we're going to go all the way up to 25 seconds because it's a solid image. So bring in our foil press stamp. And I'm going to put it into the middle just so we can kind of line it up. Carbon plate and press start. That's going to do the countdown. It's going to build up all that heat, and then of course that's going to give us a really nice solid foiled impression because of the amount of time that's been on. If you miss any bits of foil, add a few seconds on, and then if you do have any excess foil where you don't want it, hopefully you shouldn't if you've trimmed your foil to roughly the same size. What we can then do, shiny side facing down, remember, and then we're going to come in with our card. And we're going to use one of our nesting dies from the layout to cut it out. So you don't have to be overly precise in getting it straight within the card. Although it does help. If you can get it semi-straight within the cardstock when you foil it, then it makes lining up just that little bit easier. Although I will show you a little tip with the nesting die that I use. Something like that. If you want to make sure it's bang on, I'll show you just shortly. So let's take that one. And then we're going to then take that off there. And then we've got our super, super cool stag that you can see there. Super cool stag. So that we could then, of course, do our waist technique. And if that was neater, then what you could do is square that off as well. I tell you what, let's just do, because this would be really, really rustic because it's really quickly cut, but let's see what it would look like doing the waist technique. So shiny side face down. So that's the card that we are foiling onto. Our 2 shims, our magnetic top plate, reset 1 minute 10. And we're going to do start. And the reason that I'm doing it, 1, just so that I don't waste it, and 2, You know, if that was a solid piece of foil, then of course that would be a lot better, because then you're going to be able to then have that bigger scope of foil waste technique. Then that means you can come around with a square die, circle die, cut it out, and although you've got that waste impression, you'll still get edge to edge. That, because I've roughly cut it out, what we're going to get is we're going to get that waste technique done, and we're going to get that white aperture of the stag in the middle, but we're going to get that really kind of rough cut all the way around, which doesn't always look nice, but maybe there's a way, maybe you do quite like that rustic look, use your nesting dies, cut out a circle or something, you've got that rough edge, but it's still usable if you like that rustic look. So that's just doing the countdown. To say we've now got our stag that we can come along with one of the nesting dies from the layout collection. So we'll do that in a moment. But as that starts to finish on that countdown with 6 seconds to go, we can then feed that one through. So we're just going to slide that out. And then we're just going to run that one through. I'm going to move that out the way. I'm not going to switch it off just, I don't think I need it again, but no my luck, I'll switch it off and then I'll decide to do something else. So let's just leave it on. So let's take all of that, and that, and then what we can do is we can take that back and off, and then again you've got that real rustic outline cut, which, do you know what, may work if you like that idea. So I'm not going to discard it, I'm just going to keep it with all my bits and pieces. So it's there if you want to reuse it if you're doing what I'm doing at home. But let's go in and then let's bring in our dies here. So if I bring in the recipe card, I'm going to want the 2 square dies. So I want the large scallop and then also one of the squares, and then I also want the banner die. So let's use the banner die, and I will use the sentiments from this set as well, so let's bring that in too. The other thing we'll need to do is cut some strips, which I will do in black. So we've got all these components now, so let me move that out the way. That. Let's do our strips here. So I'm going to do them at, so if I bring in this background, so the height is 6 1/4 inches. So they're going to be the length or the height of 6 1/4, and then I'm just going to do them at about 1/4 inch increments. So the easiest way to do that is trim, because obviously it's a lot harder to do 1/4 inch that way. So what to do is come right up to a 1/4 inch increment, and then just come down 1/4 inch, cut, come down 1/4 inch, cut, come down 1/4 inch, cut, and then that is our 3 strips at 1/4 inch increments. All that I need to do now is just trim that. I'm going to do it just over 6 1/4 so that I can just neaten them off myself once I've stuck them onto my card. So again, just over 6 1/4 and just over 6 1/4. So then that's me got my 3 strips. Now within the recipe card, I know straight away that they're thicker than 1/4 inch. They're about 1/2 inch, but that doesn't matter. I'm still following the sketch. I'm just dictating myself what I want, what thickness. So that's those bits, and let's bring back in the stag here. So let's go in with our die set. So the outer die we're going to do in gold here, because if I bring it round, the outer die's been done in blue, but I'm going with my colour theme. Always sticking to the sketch. You can deviate from the sketch if you want to. You can change elements, change positioning, but for this I'm sticking with my actual sketch. And then I'm going to go in with that largest square, and then we're going to line up. Now sometimes it's a little play in the eye that it looks straight until you've cut it out and you're not actually straight. So for this, just the way that it works, what I'm doing is the top of the die. So if I see if I can get a little bit closer here. So the top of that die, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run along the antlers. So we're just going to meet the antlers at the top of that die. And then also what I'm doing visually myself, I'm just eyeballing that same distance. And then once I'm happy, I'm going to tape. And then we're going to tape. So let's bring in our plates now. Because this is a simplistic die, we only need base, frosted, and then magnetic. We do not need the so base, frosted, and top plate. We don't need the magnetic sheet for this one. So let's run that through. Any cracking, don't worry, it's a normal simplistic die. So that's it just going into the plastic. So let's take that one out and zoom out that a little bit more. Pop that out. And then we've got that perfect position when it comes to that stag. We can take that away for now. And then what we'll do is let's bring in flipper plates. Let's bring in that one. So let's bring in our scallop square. Tape it down. And then I'm just going to come in with a little bit of my white. And I'm going to come along with this really small banner and tape that down, and then we're going to run that through. So run that one through, so then that will give us a square. But each of these, I know that I'm kind of running along the lines of the recipe card because I've done this one in various different ways, but you can still adapt it in whatever way. So what I mean by that is if I take that out there and that out, I'm going to pop these bits back, and then I shall show you. You can always add layers. You don't have to keep it exactly as the recipe card is, or exactly as the sketch is. So if I bring this in here, so what we're going to do is just roughly, we're going to line these ones up like that, and then like that, and then like that. So this black layer I've added in myself because you've got the pattern paper, which is the foil layer, and then the black layer in the picture is actually my gold layer. So I've added in an additional black layer, and I'm going to do the same when it comes to this stag here. So we've gone in our main image, we've used the dragonflies and then the scallop square, but I'm going to add a really small matten layer for the stag, and I'm also going to do a drop shadow in black using that banner. So use the sketch as it is, or use the sketch as a way to just adapt it, you know, dramatically or slightly. You've got the option to do that. Now that square I want to say is 3 inch. So I'm going to come just a smidge, about a millimetre over the 3 inch mark, just to give me a very thin black matten layer, which that's it, perfect. And then what I also need is let's just use that bit of black, chop it down, and then let's come along with that banner again. And then I'm just going to use my mini here. So if we line all of that up, bring that in, and then run that one through. I'm going to, that's our matten layer. What I am actually also going to do is, I shouldn't have cut that first. I should have stamped my sentiment. It's a lot easier to stamp my sentiment and then use the banner afterwards. So let's do that. So let's take, I'm just taking my white multi-purpose, bring in my stamping platform, and then let's take our thank you. I'm just going to pop that into here. Didn't need this bigger piece of white card, but it's what I've got, so it's what we'll use. Line that up, position, press, and I'm just going to use an alcohol ink pad, Noir Black, alcohol proof. Flip, turn, press, and then we've got thank you. So now that we've got that stamped, what I can do, I'm just putting that back, take that out, and then now that I've got my sentiment stamped out, it's a lot easier now to do it this way, because at least with this large piece of card, it meant I had somewhere to add my magnetic discs. If I tried to stamp directly onto that, it's not that it's impossible, but it just makes it a little bit harder for you to position your magnetic discs into place. So once we've got that, there we go, we've got our thank you, and that's it now, cut. So let's move all of these out the way. Let's pop all these back, and then we can assemble our card. I can go into there. That's all of that, that I can tidy afterwards. But then let's get assembling. So let's go in with our top layer with our stag. So our stag we will matte and layer flat onto our black card layer, and then that black card layer, that's going to go into foam pads, but this one is going to go on flat as well. You know me, my choice wherever possible is always double-sided tape. You can use your tape runners or that if you want. So let's go in, take the backing off, and we can matte and layer that into there. Let's take our foam pads, and add them all the way round. That can then go into place here. What I'm also doing is let's take our sentiment and then we're going to do a drop shadow with our sentiment. We just get that into there and then press like so. And then that one I'm going to take my foam pads too. Let's layer that up, move that out the way, and then for that one let's take, I think it's a little bit too thick, I'm going to go in with my red, I thought I had normal sized tissue tape, but I don't. So you can either use your tacky glue, or I'm just going to use my red liner tape. Just going to go in with my thin 3mm. Let's take that one. Just going to put my tape onto the back end of each of these. Work my way down. And then we're going to come along and add that one too. I'm going to take that off, hold of it. And then, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to use some of the grids within the actual honeycomb as a way to line up. So I'm not overly concerned about the gapping of the strips, just so that we've got the 3 of them lined up, because again, that's what we've got within the recipe card. And I'm not following the colour, the design, or the colour. I'm not following the colour design and image. I'm just following the sketch. And then let's go in with that one. Line. And then press. So we've then got our striped background. Because I've cut them a little bit longer, it means I can just trim them myself. So there's our background with our 3 strips, which we've got there. So like the stag, this is going to go onto my black layer flat, and then my black layer is going to go on to my gold layer with foam pads. So that can go into there. The black layer is going to go on with foam pads, and then the gold is going to go in with my tape. So continue all the way round. Always put a little bit within the middle. So we're going to take that off, and that off. Now that one can go onto our black layer, and I'm just being careful because I've purposely given myself a really fine matting layer. Let's go in with my foam pads again. Let's get some more. To give ourselves a good balance within the corner, and then a good stable centre. And then if you want, just to make it extra stable, drop it in lengths, and then there we go. So let's take those off. And that can go into the centre of our gold. So there's our backdrop. Let's take each of these off. And that, of course, we've got our insert already in. That can go into there. And as I always say as well, although I've gone with foam pads on some of the layers, you don't have to. If you want to just keep it flat, you can do. We're just taking off these ones, and then we're bringing them into place here. Now at this, but the positioning is when you can be following the step-by-steps, although I'm just eyeballing the sketch, and I'm also eyeballing the actual image, because that is that sketch. So I'm just looking at it in front of me to follow. So there is our stag. I'm going to come along with our sentiment, and then I'm going to pop that just along a little bit, like so. And then what I'm going to do here is there's 3 gems at the side onto the pattern paper. I'm not going to put them on the pattern paper, I'm going to do it onto that black strip. So I'm going to use, do I want gems or do I want pearls? Actually, let's go pearls. I'm going to go one where that arrow is pointing, or banner's pointing, and then one at the top, one at the bottom. I'm just going to do 3 the same size here. So I'm just going, these are just Dreamy's pearls. I'm going to do all 3, I'm just going to do as small. So let's pick that. So I've just got my sticks to pick up pencil. Let's see if we can turn that around. Like so. Nudge that in, and of course the glue will dry clear. And then there we go. There is us having used sketch number 12 from the layout collection. So sketch 12, thank you, layout collection. But what we've done is we've used the foil press instead. So we've used the foil press in the background. So we've used that honeycomb, and of course we could have used the waste technique. So we've done the background area, we've done it for 50 seconds. Doing the waste technique was 1 minute 10. And then our stag we done for 25 seconds. And then the rest of the layers we followed exactly the same within the sketch. The only difference was I added my own additional layer of black within the base, and also a little one round the stag as well. The dies have all been used from the layout collection, but we used my own colours, but we followed the sketch to create a 5x7 card. Thank you card that you can see here. So there we go. There's our 5x7 card. Beautiful layout, following that sketch that you can see there. But if I bring that in close up, that you can see a bit better there. There we go. So tilt it so you can see the gold, and that was just our gold foil press heat foil. Finished off with a few Dreamy pearls as well. So there we go. Let's just go overhead again just once more, just so you can see. And then there we go. Lift it within foam pads, but you can then of course keep it flat if you want. And there we are. There is another project here on my Crafter's Companion YouTube channel where I've used the layout collection and our foil press. So remember when I said at the start of this tutorial here, I will be doing this on Crafters TV on Saturday, February the 3rd within the layout collection masterclass, but I just couldn't wait until another week's time. I wanted to do this technique with the foil press because I know you want to see more with the layout collection, and I know you want to see more with the foil press. So it's the sort, right, let's take this opportunity to then combine them both, film them for my Crafter's Companion YouTube channel. So you'll see it live, the cut down version on masterclass on the 3rd of February. But then if you are watching that, I will direct you back to this video where we've done every single step in real time. So if you enjoyed that one, please do give me a thumbs up, of course. I would really appreciate it. By all means as well, you can always share either my page or individual tutorials if you want. There is that share option. Don't feel as though you have to, but it is there if you want to. The main thing is I appreciate the fact that you're subscribed, you've hit that bell notification, and then if you do enjoy them, then you've given me that thumbs up. So thank you so much. Right, until the next time here on my Crafter's Companion YouTube channel, I will say goodbye, see you soon, until the next one. See you then, toodles.